There's something special in the Jewish world that I've always gone back to, and it's the Talmud, which starts with the why. My grandfather used to sit and read Talmud with me, and it was always that questioning. And as years gone by, I realized that a religion or a faith that grew up with curiosity as its mainstay inevitably was going to find pathways to enlightenment that others may not. And there's a lot of great work that's been done from people who were raised with that curiosity. Celebrating the contributions of our brethren, people, is important to me, especially if they're things achievements that were ethical and brave and wonderful for humanity. This museum is about celebrating Jewish achievements, so it's different from a lot of the other museums that have been built about the Jews. Most of the buildings that we've built to represent Jewish causes and issues until this point have included the Holocaust, because that was such a searing, burning, terrible issue in our lives that it's hard to shake it. And it's hard not to keep telling people, look what happened, and this could happen to anybody. Be careful. And what I'd like to add is the museum we're talking about now is really about celebrating the achievements of this culture over time. And some of it's quite extraordinary, and a lot of it hasn't been shown or told the way it will be in this museum. And the connectivity between these issues and what's going on in the world, and how these achievements have been positive to world development. I think mine goes back to my grandfather, my father, his openness to people. Even though he was very poor, he taught me how to be generous. My mother, the last year of her life, spoke Yiddish to me. And I didn't know I could speak Yiddish, but I could. With her, I don't know if I could with anybody right now. I think today, trying to understand what it means to be Jewish is pretty strange territory for kids, given technology, given the world we live in. Since the war, it's been about living and a little bit, maybe too much, and not looking at some of the inspiration from the people this museum is intending to highlight. When I approach a project, I try to find out where it is, what it's about, what the culture's about, who's it for. It should be welcoming and feel like a place you'd like to go, where the experience of just being in the courtyard and around the building will be special and create a curiosity about what's inside. The whole idea of making it white, like a white oasis, is possible, I think, because there isn't that much development around. And so that allows you to sort of make more of a statement with the building. We're playing with glass and sculpting with the glass and giving it some feeling of motion, and imagine inside those spaces will have a very special feel. The creation of the courtyard is created by using the elements to create a village. I don't want to make a building that doesn't work with the main event, which is a story that's being told inside. In my mind, I mean, I always go back to Shakespeare. Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage, we're all players. And so if we're building in that stage, we're building part of the stage. And it's a stage in which people play out their roles and play out their loves and feelings. And so the building should express that and should be supportive of the idea that people are playing out their lives in this stage, on this stage. And the building is a stage, and it's going to talk about these very important stories. The setting and the relationship of the environment you're in to that exposition of information is critical. The relationship to the river, to the sea, to a former industrial neighborhood kind of fits with the time we're in, because, you know, in the US, we've been converting old industrial neighborhoods to wider and better communal interest. So this model fits that, and we have the natural river, the natural terrain, the relationship to the sea. It's just open. There's a freedom about this site. It seems like we're free to set the image for the future of that area. And so that's a big responsibility, actually. The site is situated in a way that it opens out to the greater world through the sea, and the river is kind of the introduction to the sea. And that's the site we're on, so there we're connected to a worldview, and the building will address that as we design it. I always think of Israel as the beginning of a new world, a new life for the Jewish people. It still represents our place in the world, and it would be hard not to build a building that represents the Jewish culture in a place that's looking to the future. And this area of Tel Aviv is kind of the future of Tel Aviv, and in its relationship to the sea, and makes it a very important place. You couldn't find that anywhere else with that heritage. Well, I hope in the case of this building that the content and the building will have a strong representation of what the Jewish people can do, can accomplish, and what certainly, if they're left to their own devices, will continue to accomplish. Well, if I let that be the driving force, we'd be in trouble. So you'd get pretty self-conscious. I was asked that same thing when I started the Bilbao Museum many years ago, to build something that did for Australia what Sydney Opera House did for Sydney. And I looked at them and said, "You got to be kidding. I can't guarantee that. I don't know, you know, I'll do my best." So as it turns out, this is going to be my first project in Israel. I'll do my best. I have a pretty good track record. I don't know if I can do it every time, but I'm going to put my heart and soul into it.